if base in the mechaber, which is none other than if ches, not the Rebbe. I'm just gonna.
No, I found my test on Shabbos. She had it. Oh. Oh, that's the AC 5 test. 36 questions.
Where did you get those from?
This is an old test.
Did you pass?
I'm not. I didn't finish it.
Okay. We're ready to start. Should I post it? Who else needs to know this? Oh, it is here. Excellent. Welcome. Just on time. All right, here we go. Eitzim shetoikin roish echad b'dofen asfina v'choifin roish hasheni b'dofen hasheni shel asfina. U'person machzelas aleim letzel. Poles that they stick one on one wall of the ship, and then they bend it to the other wall of the ship. And we learned this already, by the way, when we learned the Gemara. And then they spread a machzelas, like a mat, a tarp, exactly over them for shade. Like the covered wagons heading out west. If the actual poles have a width of a tefach, so by the way, if you want to know if it has the diameter of a tefach, you measure the circumference and you see if it's 3 tvachim. That's what the Gemara says. If the circumference of a circle, right, the circle around the circle is 3 tvachim, then the diameter, the radius is halfway, the diameter is the whole way through, is a tefach, just as a side point. The Mishnah Berurah brings that down. So, or even if you don't have a tefach in the width of the thing, if you don't have 3 tvachim between one and the other, chashivi ka'oyel, it's considered like an oyel. And therefore, you're allowed to spread out the machzelas, tahavi la tesefes oyel arai v'shor, because it is considered an addition to an oyel arai, and it's permissible. Comes out for this reason. Machzelas persukadei tefach, if the machzelas, which is a wrapped up mat, but it's spread out one tefach's worth. Mutter the first machzelas, Shabbos, you're allowed to spread out the rest of it on Shabbos. The tefach shamur chutz b'nai kricha, the tefach that they spoke about is besides what's actually wrapped up. So it's interesting that when it comes to the poles that you're using to spread out the mat, those poles are considered a tefach of protection, right? And therefore, you can spread out in addition to them. But if you have a rolled up mat on the side, that rolled up mat is not considered a tefach. It has to actually be unrolled a tefach's worth.
Does it have to be touching? Just like over there?
No, it has to be not just one second. It has to be protecting the area that you want covered by a tefach. Not enough that the actual diameter of the rolled up mat is a tefach, but it has to be unrolled a tefach.
So we're not building it. It was like rolled back like a convertible, like this.
Rolled up, exactly, and you're unrolling it. There's no question of building here because you're just pulling out a mat. I mean, nothing's attached, nothing's permanent. Nevertheless, even a temporary kind of tent is forbidden. But if you have it already a little bit spread out, it's okay. So, my friends, what's the reason for the difference between these two? You don't have to know because I didn't figure it out until later today. Why is it that when it comes to the poles spread out over the ship or the wagon or whatever it is, and you're going to spread a mat over them, the poles themselves count. And if each pole is a tefach, or even if not, but if they're within 3 tvachim of each other, they're considered lavud. They're considered halachically connected. Anything within 3 tvachim is considered halachically connected. So therefore, it's considered as if you have already a partial covering, and you can spread the rest of the mat. Whereas when it comes to an actual mat that is rolled up and is on the side of your, your covering of your roof, and you want to unroll it on Shabbos, the actual mat that's rolled up is not considered a covering yet, unless it's unrolled at tefach. So a rolled up mat is not a covering. The poles that you're going to spread the covering on is a covering. I'm sorry. I hear. I hear. So since it's there all the time, you're more you rely on it more. It's more important to you. I hear. But I mean, in general, this is something temporary. So you don't really need something permanent. You only
compared to the material.
I understand. Okay, but you don't need permanent. You need temporary. So why can't this be a temporary? Why can't the rolled up mat be a temporary covering? Okay, those are permanent. Fine.
But this one we consider, let's say, this because I'm going to be holding the rock material.
No. That's not dafka. Maybe yeah, maybe no. It's not attached for sure, but whether it's blowing one ruach on suya or not, that's maybe yeah, maybe no. That's neither here nor there. So here's what the Mefarshim explained that I've come across. I think Chazon Ish mentions this actually. That the idea is that because it's going to be unrolled, therefore we don't see it as functioning until it is unrolled. In other words, the pole, that's it, it's staying there. Of course, it's not complete and you need to add to it and so on. But whatever protection it gives you, it's not going away. The roll is going to become unrolled. You understand? So therefore, we don't see it as...
Why isn't it like finishing?
Finishing what?
Finishing your roof.
Not finishing your roof. It's temporary. On, off. It's expected to be temporary. It's not considered finishing. Besides the fact, as a side point, I don't think we mentioned this yet, Makah b'Patah does not apply to anything connected to the ground, just as an important piece of information. So there is no law of finishing when it comes to things connected to the ground. That's just a side point. Not that I know of, actually. See, the thing is that with things connected to the ground, even a small fix is considered binyan. So you wonder what's the difference if there's no Makah b'Patah. You're chai for binyan anyway on a small thing. So what's the difference? I don't remember, but it is brought down, that concept. Yeah.
And the wind opens, you're allowed to continue.
The pole already counts as...
Zami Lagada. I don't know. I don't know if it goes on the gavra or the chefza. In other words, what's the point? One is that you opened it, so you showed that you already started, or just the fact that it's there already. Not sure. Not sure about that. I'm sure somebody discusses it, but I don't know. Oh, so the Chazon Ish says, based on his chiddush, that it has to do with the fact that it's going to be unrolled. He says, actually, if you have a roll that you're not planning to unroll, then you can put another roll. You can unroll a different roll. Understand? The whole point is that because you can unroll it, it's not considered like it's permanent. You see what I'm saying? And then he says an even bigger chiddush than that. He says, maybe even if you were planning to unroll it, you can decide now that you're not going to unroll it. So now that it's there, you're not going to unroll it. Okay, it becomes an oil because it's staying there. Now you can take another roll and unroll it.
You can have one roll for one side, another roll to the other side. One is open and the other one is not.
Because it's connected to the pole, right?
Can you...
It's two different pieces.
Yeah.
Because the other ones don't open a tefach, I'm going to be allowed to unroll the other one completely also.
I saw that being discussed. I think Rav Shlomo Zalman says you have to start from the side that it's already there. Yeah. You don't have to do the same roll. You can take a different roll, whatever. But I'm pretty sure he says you have to start from the same side where it is, because you have to show how it's a continuation. You have to show that it's not something new. If I'm not mistaken, that's what he says. So
unrolled until it was less than the tefach. You're not allowed to open it. Is it like it's a muksa or something like that? You're allowed to take it down and use it as a carpet, or you're not supposed to?
no muksa. You could take it down. You could take it down and use it as a carpet, no problem. However, Alter Rebbe says, later Achronim don't all agree with him, but Alter Rebbe says that since an unrolled tefach makes you allowed to unroll it, right, and make the whole thing, and we know that you're not allowed to destroy an oil, so therefore even one tefach that's unrolled you can't remove, because that represents a complete oil, even though it's not yet unrolled, but that represents a complete oil. So you can pull it all the way out, you can roll it all the way back as long as you leave a tefach. You can't roll it all the way back and close up that tefach, because the point is then you're destroying an oil.
But didn't we say that the pole itself was a tefach?
Has to be unrolled.
Oh, so not that you're starting with it already covered.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, here comes the Chiddush of the Taz. The Taz brings down that Rashi disagrees with Tosfos about this matter, which is the matter of the roll not counting. Tosfos is the one who says it doesn't count. It has to be unrolled a little bit. Rashi says no, the roll itself is good. Okay, so we pass on like Tosfos. It has to be unrolled a little bit. However, Taz says that we should be strict like Rashi. We shouldn't be lenient like Rashi, but we should be strict like Rashi. Rashi says that a rolled up pole is considered a oil. A rolled up mat is considered an oil. So therefore, based on Rashi, you should not take a rolled up mat and put it on your rooftop. Understand? According to Tosfos, a rolled up mat is not considered an oil. So if it's in your way, throw it up on the roof, big deal. According to Rashi, rolled up mat is considered a tefach, if it's a tefach. So therefore you can't throw it up on the roof. Taz says, even though I'm passing like Rashi, to be lenient and to allow you to unroll it, unless it was already unrolled specifically a little bit before Shabbos. But because Rashi says it is an oil, you shouldn't put it up in the first place on Shabbos. You know what I'm saying? So that's just an interesting Taz. All right. You following? Very good.
But under Tosfos, you still have to have the tefach.
In order to make it permissible, you need to have a tefach unrolled before Shabbos. Okay. And in order to make it forbidden to do in the first place on Shabbos, you would only be forbidden to put it up if you would then pull it out. But if you just
on Shabbos.
On Shabbos, exactly. You wanted to just take a rolled up mat and put it up on the roof. No problem according to this, because that is not considered an oil of a tefach. Okay.
So what was the Taz? He was just bringing the Rashi and Tosfos to show us the difference?
To sharpen your halachic minds.
Uh-huh.
No, besides that, there is a practical application that the Taz says you must follow according to Rashi. Meaning to say, normally you understand Rashi as a leniency, that once the rolled up mat is on the roof, even if it's not unrolled a little bit before Shabbos, you can unroll it the whole way. And we don't accept that leniency of Rashi. However, the Taz says we should accept the stringency of Rashi is that that rolled up mat is considered an oil, and therefore you shouldn't take it off the ground and put it on the rooftop on Shabbos, because that should be considered making an oil, based on Rashi's opinion.
So what was the leniency of Rashi again?
The leniency of Rashi would be as if you had that up from before Shabbos, even if it wasn't unrolled at all, you would be allowed to unroll it on Shabbos.
Oh, if it was just sitting up there and not in the row.
Assuming that the diameter of the roll was a tefach. That roll itself is already considered a covering according to Rashi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even if it's the wood,
What, sorry?
the mechaber, even if the beam can be less than a tefach, it's still going to be allowed to unroll.
If the beams are close to each other within 3 tefachim, so then even if each beam is less than a tefach, we apply the principle of lavud. We say that they're considered joined and connected as one, and therefore the 2 beams that are less than 2 tefachim apart are considered to be connected. And as long as from the beginning of one till the end of the other you have a tefach, that's already the beginning of an oil. You have 2 beams. I don't have any pens on me. You have 2 beams, right? Each beam is a half a tefach, and they're a tefach apart. So if you count this beam, plus the space in between, plus this beam, you have 2 tefachim. Perfect. That's considered as if you have 2 tefachim of an oil.
I thought when I say that the zig is between the end and the beginning, not from the beginning.
In between, as long as you have in between less than 3.
Less than gimel.
Yeah.
How are you going to get to a tefach together?
Because it's all considered connected. If it's less than 3, then it's all considered as if it's connected. You can make believe that it's full, like a block. Understand? Let's say you have a half tefach, and 2.5 tefachim in between. So what you're going to have is you're going to consider 3.5 tefachim as if it's already an oil. Understand?
And if the two being together doesn't come to a tefach,
Counting the space in between or not counting the space in between? What do you mean?
the space in between is less than 6 tefach. But it doesn't add up to a tefach.
What you mean is, let's say each pole,
Because you don't know that's going to happen.
if each pole is a quarter of a tefach, and there's only a quarter of a tefach in between, then it's no good, because you only have 3/4 of a tefach. But if each pole is a quarter of a tefach, and there's 2 tefachim in between, then it's considered filled in. So it's as if you have 2.5 filled in. The lover doesn't only work to make it considered connected. The lover makes it considered as if it's one big filled in space. Just like a sukkah. You know, they have these sukkahs. Sorry? No. They have these sukkahs. You know, the pop-ups and all the different. So they have now on the bottom 3 ropes. Ever seen that?
Yeah.
What's the 3 ropes? That's a Bavadia's Chiddush, by the way. He came up with it. No, he came up with it. We should have patented it. He would have been, he was a rich man anyway, Beruchni is. If I'm not mistaken, he came up with the idea of doing those ropes. Yeah, using the Levitt concept. It's a halachic concept, but of applying it to these sukkahs. Anyway. So they have these sukkahs, they flap in the wind. He held that if they flap, it's no good. Right. So that's why he had this idea. I'm sorry? Less than 3 tefachim between each one makes a wall. Now, a wall has to be 10 tefachim high. And the ropes are not 10 tefachim, even if you count them all together. But the space in between is considered filled in. So from the ground till the top rope is 10 tefachim. And there's less than 3 in between each rope. And it's a total of 10. It's like you have a wall.
Didn't we see it? Were we talking about the last Chaznish sheet that we already mentioned? You said that it was a religious Chiddush, but we were saying somebody said it was the Chiddush of and also he says that it can move. I forgot exactly. Tefach.
Now the Chazanish says, I don't remember who said. Somebody says that the walls can move. the wind, as long as they don't move more than 3 tvachim from the center. So it's always considered lavud to the center.
Oh, the rope concept, you're saying that.
The rope, the idea of the rope, that was the wise condition. That's what I heard. I didn't see it written, but I heard that. Sorry? Okay. We're going to move right along in Gimel. Actually, you know what? Let's do the Alter Rebbe, because Gimel starts a new concept. The Alter Rebbe says, Ches, Eitzim shetoikim roisham, ho'echad b'dofen asfina, v'koifim roisham hasheni be'igul adofen hasheni. Sticks or poles, but they stick one end in one side of the ship, and they bend the other end in a semicircle until the second side, and they spread mats over it to protect from the sun or the rain. If there is a diameter of a tefach, even in one of them, then you're allowed to add mats on Shabbos. It's not like considered adding to a temporary tent. Also, but it's made from before Shabbos. Even if there is not one tefach in any of them, apart. Anything less than 3 is like lavud. And therefore you're allowed to spread mats over it on Shabbos. So too, a baby's bed. Here, my friends. A baby's bed that has these chashukim. Let's translate chashukim here. Jail? Glad I'm not your baby. Let me just see how they do it in Alter Rebbe. Chashukim, how they translate chashukim. Nobody's using Alter Rebbe in the English? You're all good. No problem.
You have English? Alter Rebbe English?
It's online.
So online, yeah, the book is. So where does he?
I have it.
He takes a little bit of both sides.
I'm looking at it now.
Oh, what do you have?
No, I have it. Here it is. And similarly, Shabbos has bands. Okay, bands. Bands of wood extending over it. And a person has sadin, and they put out a sheet over it to protect from the flies, so like a mosquito net. If the bands are in the way we described, that it's a tefach and 1 or less than 3 in between, and then a tefach together, sure, you're allowed to spread out a sadin over on Shabbos, and not also, if not, it's also. Now, we will, in Mirza Hashem, get to discuss a baby's carriage, which is a very practical and weekly shaila for people with babies about opening the roof, you know what I mean, the protective roof over the baby or not. Again, considering that when it's fully folded up, according to Tosfos, the Machaber Paskins, that is not considered an oil. And therefore, it would seem like, according to straight halacha, straightforward halacha, you would have to have it a little bit open from before Shabbos. And
yeah, but you can't even
tefach,
close it up.
No, the point is, if it's close to the best that you can, then it's not good, because it becomes like the rolled up.
So even though it's more
than a tefach, it's not going to help you.
By design.
Exactly. You have to actively leave an actual tefach open.
So if you have
That's the simple halacha. Now the Chazon Ish is a chiddush, and according to Chazon Ish, you're allowed to open and close it on Shabbos. We'll get to that.
Based on what?
Based on a chiddush, which is based on something else that we didn't get to yet. So
If someone have it open already before Shabbos,
someone has what open?
the top of the
Yeah,
wall.
yeah.
Now you have to fold it to lift it up, this apartment. Basically, you're destroying the oil.
You have to leave it open in one tefach.
How you gonna, sometimes you fold the whole stroller. So you have to close it completely.
But even when you fold the whole stroller, it doesn't.
That's a problem. I don't have a way around that.
So if you can, you have to lift it up open.
So in Shabbos,
You have to
we
leave
leave
it
the
a tefach
stroller
open.
outside.
If there's no way to leave the tefach open when you close it, then yeah, I guess you have to leave it open.
I don't see anyone folding strollers. Everyone leaves them outside. Or inside.
Exactly. Kasha for Maisa. Okay, so we will get to that. The Chazon Ish's Chiddush is based on something we haven't learned yet, so we'll get to it later. Okay, now we're going to start a very important principle, which is about making an unintended oil. An unintended oil is when you have a covering and you don't intend for it to be any kind of protection, right? I mean, very simple. This table right here would be a protection, right? Like in the, and you guys are young. You're not so young, but I mean, like I'm not so young. When we were in school, you know, we practiced going under the desks for the bombs in case the Russians would bomb.
The tornadoes.
Yeah.
No, the Russians.
Yeah, the bomb threats.
Bomb threats.
They still
You didn't do that?
They still did that.
Did you do that in
I
school?
did that.
We did that
Tornadoes.
because it was the middle of the Cold War. What's going on under the desk? Can I help
I was
if a
about to say,
nuclear
right?
bomb
That
comes
was such a
up?
better hiding place for
I have no idea, but they used to do it. Anyway, so a table,
Maybe from debris. Maybe.
akasha for mice, as they say. I don't know what the point was. Maybe just to make them feel good, like they were doing something.
Right.
Anyway,
We had bomb shelters
yeah,
in the schools and all.
What's in case
Yeah.
the roof fell?
Where'd you
Don't fall on the desk.
In the school. Here.
in Chicago.
Yes. we have-
I don't remember bomb shelters in LA, but when I visited Albuquerque a few summers, that's around the atomic
Los Alamos.
sites. Exactly. Every major center had a bomb shelter.
The University of California facility.
Where in
Los Alamos.
Berkeley? Oh yeah,
Yeah. Not anymore. But used to, in those days it was.
interesting.
Yeah. We did a lot of experiments there.
Interesting. They did experiments in UC Berkeley too, you know. They're coming out now with knowledge that there was contamination there, radioactive contamination on campus. Hope you're okay. I hope I'm okay, actually. I grew up there. Anyway, so
Berkeley, you wouldn't know the difference.
They actually do it in Lawrence. Lawrence Livermore Labs.
Yeah, Lawrence Berkeley Lab.
Yeah.
Up on the hill.
Yeah.
interesting. So
Table.
the table, yeah, the table could be used as a protection, but that's really not your intention when you put a table out. You're just putting a table out. Nevertheless, you are creating an oil which is not intended. So basically the principle is, I'll tell it to you before we learn it inside. The principle is if you create both a roof and walls, then it's a problem, even if you have no intention of any protection there.
Oh, and if you have
Like a desk.
protection,
I'm sorry?
and if you have,
If you do it, even just roof is a problem.
so does it have to be a certain amount of space?
Tefach.
So let's say a person's eating outside on Shabbos day.
Yeah.
And now he wants to, and now he sees that it's drizzling.
Yeah.
So they're gonna walk inside, but before he walks inside, he takes a tablecloth, like a plastic tablecloth, and it's Pepsi bottles and all these high things on the table. And him and his friend, they put it on the table so nothing will get wet. When everything comes out, when it stops raining, they'll just take it off and continue eating.
Interesting, Shaila.
Trouble with them.
Interesting, Shaila. No, because
It's for protection.
if there is a tefach underneath, No.
in all parts or just even in one part?
One part.
So soda bottle, 2-liter bottle of soda. Pretty much even a can of soda.
Yeah, well, it's not, one can is not going to be an issue. It's if there's two cans, because the tefach has to be space. You know what I'm saying? It's not that it's covering something that is a tefach tall. It's that there's a space. It creates a space of a tefach underneath. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but no. It does create a space. If there's a soda can.
There's a soda can. I mean, it goes up, it goes down, depending on the angle. We're going to see later. It has to be basically flat. If it's an angle, it may or may not be a problem.
If it's 2 bottles or 2.
If it's 2 bottles, yeah, that's when you have an interesting question. Although,
Every time you have a tefach roof,
sorry,
the tefach roof before it's sliding down.
it has to have a tefach flat. Although in certain angles could also be a problem, depending on how far apart they are. We're going to see, but.
Does this apply to food? You don't put a towel over your food and keep it warm.
One second, one thing at a time. My thought is that if there are actually soda bottles and such similar things that create an actual space, that it's a problem. Meaning to say, if it's just, bowls and whatever things, and you're doing it directly over them, you know what I'm saying? So there's no space. There's a little space as it goes up and down, you know what I'm saying? That would be okay. But if you actually have, taller things like a soda can or pitchers or whatever, and you're actually creating a actual upraised space of a tefach, I think it's a problem. I don't have an easy answer for that one. Yes.
No, your answer.
What about raising a towel over you? Or for 2 people to raise a towel over them for protection from the drizzle?
From the cold. But still, it doesn't mean you have to raise it like you put it over yourself. That's it.
I mean, we are not going to learn what we should learn about hats, and there we're going to say that a talus is not considered an oil, even if it's like over your face, because it has no substance to it. You know what I mean? It basically is just dangles. There's nothing holding it. So maybe if 2 people are holding it, it would be a problem. 2 people are holding it.
Yeah,
We're going to see
exactly.
about a chuppah. A chuppah is not a protection. No,
Why not?
because it's not a protection. It's symbolic. It's purely symbolic. You don't put up a chuppah for protection unless you want it for protection. But when you make a chuppah for a couple, it's symbolic. Symbolizes a home and whatever it symbolizes. But it's not for protection. But if you do it for protection, if people are actually holding it up, as opposed to when you just put it on yourself and it comes and flops down, even if it happens to hold up for a tefach because of the angle that's nothing because it has no substance to it. But if people hold it up, it would seem to be a problem. No, this is all Darabana. Oil arai is Darabana. Oil kavua is Daraisa. We're gonna define that more precisely later. But oil arai is Darabana. Yes.
Sometimes there's making a kiddush outdoor.
If what?
I have a can that they put their food, and usually going doing it. What happened if they had to put another small can outside? Going doing it to put the food on it.
On Shabbos?
They're not allowed.
Make a tent on Shabbos?
The government separate the foods that they have to serve.
No. No.
They're doing it for them, not for us.
What's more of a problem, the width or the height?
No?
I don't see that. No.
What's more of a problem, the distance or more of the height?
Both. Tefach, it has to be over tefach space and a tefach height also.
But
Okay.
Do you have to have both?
If it's a tefach high, but it's not protecting a space that's a tefach wide, it's not a problem. And vice versa.
So like what he said, if two people are holding a towel or something, and they hold the hands next to each other, so it's going over, it's going here to the next person, you only have the width. You don't technically have height because it's resting on from a head to a shoulder to an arm to.
I was talking about if two people are holding it in two hands, each of them in two hands, so it's like spread out.
To get out of the ring. So to get out of the ring.
I was talking about because they're both holding it up.
Yeah,
You're talking
no,
about a
I
case where it's
understand.
on you.
Yeah, so if it's on you, you don't have both, so it's fine.
Yeah, some use no problem.
So the main key is that to be protected. If it doesn't, doing
Correct.
it, even if it's decorating, wasn't a tough factor in the wall, but it's not protected.
If you create a roof and walls, then it's a problem, even if it's not your intention to make a protection. However, here's where we have leniency. The Gemara says that if you do it in an unusual way, that means you start from the top and you go to the bottom. As opposed to the normal way of building, you start from the bottom and you go to the top. Then it's mutter.
So, let me basically, from this stroller to open it. So we open it to protect. If it's indoor, not protecting the ends.
Here you are. I don't want people looking at my kid.
Okay.
Let's say it's a protect against the light. So
I
you're
know.
going to open it in a dark room and then take it out. So basically, when you
Yes,
open it,
that
there was
was-
no protection for anything.
Yeah, you did ask about this.
You did?
I mean, we discussed in one of the past shiurim. My thought is I have to look it up in the Noda B'Yehuda. The Noda B'Yehuda is the one who came out against umbrellas in the early days of the umbrella industry. I have to look up his truma. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he says inside is only exer, that you may do it outside. I have to look it up. I'm pretty sure inside is not aser.
So if you open it inside, you can take it outside.
I want to look it up. And Noda B'Yehuda. Before I give an answer to that question.
Not by the way, but stroller.
I understand. Okay,
Did we finalize on the stroller? That was
No.
upset?
we did not finalize. I mean, in general, it would seem from the straightforward halacha what we've been learning so far, it's a problem, but the Chazon Ish is a chiddush that is matered. We're going to get to that. Mita, we're learning Gimel and Shinta as well. Mita kshma mita moisa, asa lahaniach, in Machar exactly. Aglam tchila v'laniach aleim akrosh. Adiyas ma'akishon akrosh tchila b'avim v'achar kach aglam tachtei. So if you have a bed that has actual walls, a bed that you have, that the frame has actual walls,
Correct.
and then you put over the walls your mattress. There's a bed with walls. And then between the walls, you put some kind of, slats.
Real walls or poles?
No, walls. Real walls, like an actual frame of a bed. And then you put the mattress over those poles. So in the end, if you were happening to lie under the bed, you would find yourself surrounded by walls and a roof. Good protection in case, the Russians or who knows what, the North Koreans,
So from the flies, the mesh.
whatever it is. Now, of course, the guy who's doing the bed doesn't care about that. But the fact is he's creating walls and a roof.
Can you put the bed together on Shabbos altogether?
That's a discussion we had in the past. No, what's the answer?
What was the question?
Putting the bed together on Shabbos in general. What about the issue of boina?
This is the key of that.
Why are you creating the walls if they're already there?
Why isn't it on it?
That's what Ronnie just asked.
Why isn't it on
That's what Ronnie just asked.
it? Is it not on it? Building that is not on it?
I asked you that question. You're supposed to give the answer now.
We spoke about a bed that's a traveler takes with them, a person who does merchant or whatever, a guy who
You
has to
do
go around.
tie with the ropes, not with beams. Something with the ropes that you, so the beams you have the rope from one side to the other. Okay, fold like that.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I think, for whatever it's worth. Why is this not boina? The challenge is over here that you're not putting the bed together. You're not putting it together.
But the frame already exists.
The frame already exists. The poles between them already exist. You're simply moving the bed over to wherever you want it to be
The
located.
way we understood it.
Why not?
The way it's like you describe it, like you have the frame, the wood frame with the wall, and then you put those beams.
No, you're not putting the beams across. All you're putting across is the mattress. So,
So it's like you open the material, like if there's a tefach, the beam, or tefach in between,
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay.
yeah, we're going to get to that too. But what is important here is that you are moving the bed to its location. Your bed you keep on the side, you keep it, because your bedroom is also your dining room or your living room. Maybe even your kitchen in the olden days, it was one big thing. And at night you took the bed out. You know what I'm saying? Then you
But
took
the
the
frame
bed out.
remained.
Yeah, the frame remained. It was
But
on
it
the
was
side.
still on the floor, just moving from one X.
It was on the floor. It was either way. Makes no difference. Either way. Why am I saying that? Because if you put just a wall and don't create the walls, sorry, if you just put a ceiling and don't create the walls, and you're not intending to make an oil, then it's okay. It's forbidden to make walls and a roof in the regular way, meaning to say bottom then top, even if you don't intend for an oil. But if the wall's already there and you're just covering it and you don't intend for oil, it's okay. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, you're moving the bed over. Because you didn't move the bed over and you just put it over, you didn't create the walls. See what I'm saying? In order for it to be a problem on Shabbos, for any case where you're not doing it for protection, you're doing it because you need this cover and these walls, nothing to do about protection. So in order for it to be usher, it's only if you create both the walls and the top and the roof. When I say create, it doesn't mean you have to fashion them from nothing. Even by moving them over and then covering it here, that's also called create. Only then is it a problem. But it doesn't mean you have to make the walls. You didn't make the walls because we learned in Shin Yud Gimel that if you put together a traveler's bed, it could be a chiyuv chadas. Unless it's very loose, and even then, maybe you will make it tight, so it's complicated. Better to talk about a bed that doesn't have to be put together, you just move it over. Question?
No, so this bed, basically you could move it and put a mattress on top of it. Because it's already like.
Let's see.
You didn't mention about the distance between the.
Let's see. Here's the principle. We start with the principle.
Where you going back to the cover?
No, no.
Well.
Mm. I finished the Mechaber, didn't I? No, I didn't finish the Mechaber. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Ella, rather, Yasim Hakroshim Tchila Avir. First, put the beams in the air, and then put the feet underneath them. Again, the beams are like the cover, and the feet is the walls on the side. So you're doing it in the reverse order. Simple shinui. Now again, we can't compare Isuri Shabbos one to another, because it's not a simple thing. You just do a shinui and that's enough. Point over here, it's an oil arai, but it's not a real oil. You don't intend for it to be an oil. Kind of, it looks like an oil arai. Okay.
Honestly, first I want to do actually to create the roof and then lift it up.
Normally what you do is when you make a bed is, you take the walls, you put them here, and then, I want the computer people to see also. This is good? You can see here?
Yeah.
So here are the walls, and here is the cover that you put on it. So normally you would take the bed frame from wherever you keep it, move it over, and then put the roof on it. Not a real roof, but put the cover on it. However, because of the issue of that it looks like you're making another right, so you're going to need two people to do this. One person brings the thing, holds it here, and then they bring over the walls and put it underneath. That's the shinui. Understand? Instead of making walls then roof, you make roof then walls. Simple shinui. Again.
That makes sense because the wall already exists, so the wall is there.
No, it's not there.
The frame of the bed is the wall.
I understand, but it's not there.
What do you mean it's not there?
It's here. You bring it here, and then you're covering it.
You didn't use it then.
So that looks like you're making an oil. It's not a real oil. Looks like you're making an oil.
Bring the wall to the roof, and not the roof to the wall.
Exactly. It's a little shinui. Little shinui. Now there's a chiddush here. I'll give you the Magen Avram's understanding of this chiddush. I'm going to see more about it later. That this is only a problem because people use the space under their beds. Exactly. So therefore, it does somewhat appear like a protection, even though it's not your intention. You don't put your shoes under your bed because you want it to be protected. You put it under your bed because it's just a good place. You'll find it in the morning, easy. But nevertheless, it is used. You're going to use the space, and it's a space that is surrounded by walls and a roof. It looks like an oil. That's the problem. However, if you're not planning to use this space at all, then it's no problem. Even if you have the walls and then the top, even 4 walls and then the top, it's no problem. So for example, if you're stacking up Sfarim, and you stack the Sfarim in such a way that you leave a tefach space. Just pick it up so you can see. If there happens to be a tefach in between, right? Yeah. If it happens to be a tefach in between, tefach wide, tefach high, that's okay. Even if you first put these form here, and then you put the third sefer on top, we're going to see later, that's no problem. Because even though you have walls and a roof, and you made it in the normal way, but you have no use for that space in between. You don't need it at all. You don't care for it at all. You don't do anything there. So that doesn't look like an oil either.
That's interesting.
That's the Magen Avraham understanding. Taz has a different understanding. We'll come to that. That's a shame. All right. So, however, the Mechaber says, our beds, the feet of our beds, and the feet of our tables, mutter b'chol gavna, is mutter in any case.
What is
Because Mitot Shalanu, in the Mechaber's times, they didn't have bed frames with actual walls. They had legs. That's it. And they had like a kind of frame sitting on top of that. And that was it. They didn't have walls. So it didn't look like you were making, you were not actually making walls and a roof.
This one is the most in one tefach, so it's fucking considered as a wall.
I don't know. It doesn't go into that question of how much of a wall is a wall. So
Because what can make a difference in a wall or just a beam?
a beam is only a beam. I mean, a wall, if you want to look at it from the perspective of Hilchos Sukkah, a wall has to be mostly covered. If it's not mostly covered, it's not a wall. So the fact that it's a tefach, or even 3 tefachim, doesn't make it a wall.
It's 7 by 7. No?
I understand, but to be a wall, it has to be 4 of those 7 have to be actually covered. Yeah, the third wall, maybe not, it's a chiddush, but normally the majority of it has to be covered to be a wall. So even if you have a pole that's a tefach, even 3 tefach, if a majority of that side is not covered up, that's not going to be a wall.
Considered as a beam.
Right, exactly. So
what about this, like in the sukkahs, they said they put the rope, so it's considered, it's not filled up, but it's still like considered as a wall in between two beam. Less than 2 tefachim, but it's not filled up, but it's considered as a wall.
that's true. That's because of the principle of love. You mean if the beams are within 3 tefachim of each other? Is that considered a wall? Is that your question?
What will give the definition as a wall and not as a beam?
So,
Like the frame of
oh,
the beam,
how are you?
Or
I don't know if we are. Are we?
I think that.
Is anybody else around? Is Poppy still around? No. A few guys are out for Hanukkah concerts, so I don't think so. Mordechai Shapiro? I don't know. A few people, man.
Right over here.
I don't know where it is. I have no idea.
That's tomorrow. Yeah, Friday, so.
Okay.
So the point is, you're asking if the beams are going to be considered connected if they're within 3. That's what I'm taking out of your question anyway. Yeah? So that's actually a machlokes if we say lavud lahachmir or just lahakel. Some say that we only say lavud to make life easier. We don't, lavud doesn't make you any trouble. It's very nice to you. It will make a wall for you, but it won't make a problem wall for you. It'll make a permissible wall. It'll make a wall to help you, but not to hinder you. So that's what that question depends on. I don't know what the halach is. I just know that it's brought down. And Alter Rebbe sends us to a place that he doesn't answer it himself.
Bottom bed they usually sign underneath the hot bed and you bring it out and you pop it out.
Yeah.
No, is there an issue with popping it out?
So there's a few things. First of all, it doesn't really have walls usually. It just has the bed.
It has legs, or it has one side and one side, or something like, a jackstop.
This one actually doesn't have any walls.
Right. If it has no walls, there's no problem because you're making a roof without walls, and you have no intention of making a protection, place for protection. But here's another chiddush.
Without the mattress being, well, if the mattress is there, it has a covering. But if it doesn't have a mattress, it's usually made of metal, there's a lot of holes in it.
Right. Right. All right, but without the mattress, what is it?
What if there's a thin, it's not small, a very thin piece of metal, just a hole, like all around, there's a border to be able to fit the mattress in.
You're not changing the
So
construction.
the wall has to be.
No, a wall would have to be like a majority full, or the Alter Rebbe says, this is where the Alter Rebbe brings in the question about love being halfway. If it has walls, in order for it to be a problem, the walls have to go down to within 3 of the floor. And if they go down to within 3 of the floor, he sends you to another place to look it up as to whether that's a problem or not. Because some say we only say love with lahaka. So even if it goes down to within 3 of the floor, it's still not love with. So it's not going to be a problem. Others say yes. Okay, that's the question. But if it's definitely above 3, then it's for sure no problem. But in any case, it's not going to be a problem anyway. Because here's another chiddush that we didn't mention yet. And that is when we say that you cannot create walls and a roof, even if you have no intention to protect, is only if you are actually putting together walls and roof that were not together from before Shabbos. If you simply unhinge or open up walls and a roof that was already attached to each other, they simply weren't opened up, that's mutter on Shabbos. So for example, if you have a folding chair, we don't have such chairs today, but our folding chairs don't have any walls, right? They just have a place to sit on. There's no wall around the bottom, right? Our beds also. But if you would have a folding chair that would unfold and it would be like a box that you would sit on, you know what I'm saying? It would be a place to sit and there would be walls around. You would be allowed to unfold that on Shabbos. Because even though you're creating walls and a top, but you're not putting it together. It's already together. You're just moving it out. You know what I mean? Just unfolding it. It's going to be okay. So even if your trundle bed, even if it would have walls, and you pull it out, and it still has the walls, and you lift it up, and there's a space in between, but because you didn't put the walls and the roof together, you just arrange them, you know what I mean? Open them up, that's not a problem either. Okay.
What if it's, I have a question.
Yeah.
What if it's like a, you take it off and then put it back? Like what if it's a cover? Like you said, a chair. If I have to take the cover off, the cushion, open it, put the cushion on to sit on.
One that has 4 walls, you're saying, or even 2 walls.
Yeah.
Can we talk about old Kalin? Is there old Kalin?
You mean like what? Like a pot or something?
I mean, the example I was thinking was a pot or a chest or something like that. Protection. I mean, it doesn't sound like it would be a problem. Is that a klal that's all the Kalin doesn't exist? Or?
I think we just talk about a keli at the very end.
I asked you.
What's its purpose?
It's used as a cover in the oil.
Yeah. Yeah, there is such a halacha.
That's usually the case with things that you're going to cover. Usually, well, I think it's usually that. That's what my question was.
Yeah. So this is the answer to your question also. Alter Rebbe says a megufa, for example, they cover for a barrel is not forbidden to put back on because it's prepared for it. V'tikunu mechiach ala. The way it's made, it makes it clear that it's made for that. You understand? It's made to cover the barrel. It's not made as a protection over the barrel. It's made as part of the barrel. It's the covering of the barrel. You see what I'm saying? So that's not a problem. So if it's the designated cover, it's okay.
If it's not. Exactly what if it's a thin cover. A pre-cut piece of tin. Right. So let's say something's cooking on Shabbat. You have it from Shehiyah. And it's fully cooked, Shabbos day, you want to put a cap on
No problem.
it. That's the problem.
No, what's the problem? But he says it's designated.
He said, aluminum foil.
But it's temporary.
It's Darabon.
But you're not fixing it on it, you're just putting it on top.
To protect it.
Protect all your food.
Sure.
When you're consuming food.
That's the
Now, the Rebbe is going to discuss that at the end, Machaber also, the very last if. And basically, he's going to say that it's only a problem with certain kalim that are very large, very wide.
That's interesting.
We can also just learn when we get there.
We could learn when we get there, yeah. Basically, what he says is about the pots that the walls are already made. Right? It's not considered an asiyas oil unless you create the walls or you put up the walls. Here, the walls are already made. Well, that doesn't fit in with what I said before, because when you move the bed over, I said that's like making the walls. So that would make it sound like you can't cover the pot if you moved it, only if it's in its place. So we'll have to get to it at the end of the Siman. All right, my friends, there's a lot more to learn, but we'll call it a night, and we'll continue with Hashem next week, yes. How many didn't daven?
I didn't know you.